I am Frank Alkire. I'm the publisher of Downbeat Magazine.
Frank Alkire, a magazine publisher who loves jazz. And thanks to Downbeat Magazine, Frank spreads that love all over the planet. We spoke with him at the 2011 Gen Conference in New Orleans about the jazz recording that changed his life.
What's this guy doing? Hey, buddy, get out of the way.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
We're making a film here, pal.
I'm listening to Ray Charles.
I don't care.
It's called Rare Genius, Undiscovered Masters on Concord.
If you love me like you said, why you treat me like you do.
Get out of here.
What? Hey, I can't stay. I gotta go.
What just happened?
It is the pop music, the classical music, the backdrop of my life. You know, it's like, I think of like how I got into jazz was, I can still tell you right now, Steely Dan, Pretzel Logic, Side 2, Song 2, East 52nd Street Toodaloo, Duke Ellington tune, done by Steely Dan, made me as a 13-year-old kid go out and buy Duke Ellington records. That was important. Then all of a sudden you start like getting into like pop, all these rock records and things that you would get into, Springsteen records, and all of a sudden you start looking down there, it's talking about the Brecker Brothers. You know, the Brecker Brothers were on that, all these great musicians. You go, who are these guys that were playing with these, were playing on these rock records that we loved? You know, who is this Sonny Rollins guy that shows up on a Rolling Stones record and all that stuff? So for me as a teenager, those were the guys making the music that I loved, and it made me go find their music. And there was no difference between jazz, pop, rock, classical, whatever it was. Did it sound good to your ears or didn't it sound good to your ears? And that's still the way I approach it today. That's still the way I feel today. It's like, you know, it's like, yeah, kid in the candy store, love it. Just somebody who gets to actually, if I was paid for this or not paid for this, don't tell my bosses, I would do this anyway. We're a small family-run publication. We are as independent as hogs on ice. We have a small editorial staff. There are 2 editors. There's myself. I'm the publisher, but I also write some. I have lots of influence on that. There's an army of freelancers and writers and contributors around the world who throw in their input, and that's like our internal families, talking about families and community. And we always like, I always joke, we put the fun in dysfunctional. It's like we argue, we debate. Who's good? Who do we really like? Who belongs on the cover? How should they be portrayed? What kind of story should it be? But because it's family owned, we don't get a lot of corporate in between and things like that. It's pretty low to the ground, and like we just, what's cool this month? What do we think is cool? And we go out and we talk to a lot of people. You know what's cool this month might come from a kid who's 18 years old or 16 years old. Oh man, I love this. I love that. It might come from, you know, one of the great musicians in the world that says, Frank, you got to go check this. Ed Enright, our editor, or Aaron Cohen, our other editor, our associate editor, you got to check this guy out or that guy. It might come from one of our writers. So, you know, for us, we're a homegrown business. It's like we're 76 years old, and every day we walk in and we treat it like a startup. We're a brand new business that day. And I think that's what's kept us around and keeps us around. We look at it and go, yeah, oh yeah, everybody's talking about hard time for publishing. We don't think of it in those terms. We think of it as like changing times, and we're going to be there. It starts out because it's an instrumental music. You know, the vocalists do great, all that thing, but they also scat. They also do it. They make the vocalists make their music with sound. They make their music with not just being as important or just being focused on the lyric, but the lyric, the tone, they make you feel it as well as understand it. So it crosses borders, it crosses boundaries, it crosses languages. And I think that's the same thing with the instrumentalists. They're able to take their instruments and make them sound like a human voice. The best instrumentalists in jazz make their voices sound human. And they make you feel an emotion with what they play, whether it's anger, beauty, make you want to cry, make you want to sing, make you want to dance, make you want to make love, whatever it is that they make, whatever it is that it is. To me, it's that ability to take that horn, that piece of metal, that keyboard, and make it sound human.
Well,
the one thing I feel amazingly fortunate about is I lucked into a job at Downbeat Magazine, and I've made, not a get-rich living, but I've made a nice living where I can have a family and worked our tails off and all that stuff. But, you know, been able to have a living in this kind of music that we love. And it is important because jazz has always been like that kind of free form, that free thinking, that thought that comes before, and then somebody else takes that thought and they move it into something that may be a popular song later on. But I feel like that those things start out, those remnants of the next movement in every music come, in my view, from jazz.
A man with a life in jazz, Frank Alkire. He believes in this music and the remarkable people who create it. And he is not alone.
Look here.
Get out of here.
Why you treat me like you do. All right, babe. Look here, girl. Since you got my number, why don't you call me up sometime, babe?